So arrangement
Hey,
tools
it's DJ here.
are going to be these over
Thanks
here.
for letting me
which
know
are
that you
going
wanted
to,
me to shoot
a video.
They're
on
going to
the
be
latest release of Floriani FTCU.
So
it was released back on the 14th of October. Build number was 3655. I'm excited to share with you a little bit about it because this was one of the last projects I worked on before resigning with R&K Distributing. And so a lot of the things that you see here are
So
things
you
that
will
I've
see
been
different
wanting to do
changes
for quite
here.
a while.
So
And
between the icons,
I'm glad
the
that we
colors.
were able to finally get these in. And so I just wanted to show you a little bit about it and what we were going after with it. So first of all, you'll notice a lot of visual changes. This update was primarily designed to be a user experience change or make it easier for users to see what they're looking for, find icons, especially if you're taking classes. It's good for instructors. And so we just really tried to focus on what we could do to improve how you use the software and the usability of it. So first of all, the icons you'll notice have changed quite a bit. So we have different colors. So like for example, you can see up here the Floriani font play, color play, you design it. All of these are in a purple color and these all go together. And these are actually a set of toolbars. And if you go to your toolbars menu, you'll see that you have check boxes next to all of these different toolbars. And so like specialty here, if I uncheck it, you can see all those purple ones went away. If I come back and I click on specialty again, all of those will come back. So anything that you see here, they're all arranged by a similar color. And it just helps to make it a little bit easier to find things. And hopefully it won't be too much of an adjustment for you to get used to. So that's what we did with the icons. Also in the properties box over here, we added the ability to change the words to icons, and that just makes it a little simpler, makes it easier to kind of find things. It means less scrolling in the properties box. So you can see if I click on a running stitch tool, you're now going to be able to see all of the tabs that are available for the run stitch. There still are some that are a little bit longer, like this. This is a satin stitch. So you can see that you have fill, underlay, column, and you have to scroll once to get to these general and transform. But it's a lot less. It's a lot easier. You have access to more. And that's what I was kind of going after with it, was just to make it a little bit easier to get the tabs that you needed to get to. And this is a preference, so I will show you later how you can turn that on and off. So if you want it to actually say design notes instead of having the icon, you can do that. We try very hard, or I should say I used to try very hard to keep it as simple as possible and give options. Next, you'll notice in the sequence view that you're going to now have a color preview box for each sequence in the sequence view. So if I click this plus arrow, you'll see that there's a run stitch in it. And you can see in this green one right here, there's 3 pieces of artwork, but it's going to display the color that is used for that entire sequence. And the thing that's really nice about that is when you get working with a very large design, it can sometimes be hard to find which sequence you need to work on. So having this color makes it a little bit easier, because if you know it's a red one, you can scroll through, you can find the red color, and that'll help get you to where you need to go, and they make it easier to find it. I think it looks pretty good too. So that was just a little adjustment that was made that I think adds a little bit of value to this software. So some of the other things obviously are this floating dynamic toolbar. The purpose behind this basically came when I'll digitize a lot of designs and I'll edit a lot of designs, and sometimes it would get a little frustrating when you would go and you'd have to like right click and then go and click on some icon, or you'll have certain icons that are embedded under other ones, and it could just be time consuming. Like for example, the text tool. First of all, you had to go click the arrow and then find the one you wanted. And even when you go into edit text, you would then, if you wanted to get into the edit mode, you would have to go and click on it again to bring up those edit functions for the text. And that was something that just kind of always drove me a little bit crazy. I wanted a little bit easier access to some things. And so this floating dynamic toolbar is what we came up with. And I think it turned out great. If it seems like it's in the way, or if you feel like it takes up too much real estate, meaning that you get less design area, one of the things that I would recommend is to come up to your slow redraw icon up here in the center up at the top, and if you just click that and turn that off, it's going to bring everything up. So it'll be almost like you didn't lose any real estate at all. You'll get pretty good work area. You'll notice as I click it, it's basically the equivalent of a row, an entire row. So that's something you can do. I'm not sure why this isn't able to be turned on and off in the preferences. That was something that I was pushing for before I left R&K, and somehow that didn't get done. I would expect that if you didn't like it in the future in an update, it'll probably be something that could be turned on or off. But right now, it's there. I like it. I'm glad it's there. And I think that you will like it too as you get using the software, because it kind of shows you what all you can do with something when you select it. So for example, I have text here. If I click on the text, it's going to show me the options that are available for text. If I click on this running stitch, it'll show me the options that are available for the running stitch. If I go to the fill stitch, it'll show me those options, and these do change. For example, underlay. You have certain options for underlay with the fill stitch. If I come over here and I click on the satin, you'll see that I have different options available because these apply to fill stitches, so they're grayed out. If I come to a running stitch, you'll notice that that's not even an option because you can't really add underlay to running stitches. So, and if I come over and click on artwork, you get something totally different. So now you have a paint bucket here that will fill it with color, or you can turn that on and off. You can change the width of the line that borders the artwork. That's another option there. So you get the ability to access functions that are specific to what you're doing or what you have selected. One of the things that I love about this is when you start diving down into editing things. So for example, I have this selected. I could come here and I could click edit, or I can come up here to this shape edit right here. When I click on it, notice that this totally changes this toolbar. Many of these options weren't really found anywhere until you right clicked on, like, let's say a node, and then you'd go to edit, and then you would find the different things, like even the type of node that it is. This one's a line. You have cusp, smooth, symmetrical. You can split lines. There's a lot of different things you can do, but sometimes it was kind of hard to know where those were. And so by simply coming in, selecting something with the shape tool, these are going to be presented to you. If I click on, you can see that these are all grayed out because these have to do with specific points. But as I click on a point, now you'll see that, hey, this is a line node. If I want it to be smooth, I could click smooth and it's going to make it smooth. So it's just, it makes it really easy to come in and change some settings and some icons by using these little icons in the dynamic toolbar. And you'll even notice the undo and redo is very handy. What you find is that as you get creating or editing, you'll notice that you'll start utilizing this toolbar a lot because everything is just kind of right there, and it's when you need it based on what you're doing. So even over here on applique, I can click on applique, it shows me what the options are. One of the things that I really like, I'm excited for, is the commands. With the commands, you can see, do I have a tie-in stitch and a tie-off stitch? Like if you're going to have a machine trim, or you can actually click to actually trim it. But you can see if there is a tie-in and a tie-off, and you can change that. You can turn it on or off. So I just turned it off. I can turn it back on. And so it just makes it easy for you to, when you're getting down doing the final touches of editing, it can be a quick way to see what you have selected for something. So that's the dynamic toolbar. I think that it's a great addition, and hopefully you'll utilize it quite a bit. And like I said, if you are worried about the space that it took up, I would just take the slow redraw, and when you need it, click the icon. It will come back. You can use it, and then you can turn it back off. Now, one of the things you can do, which is great about Floriani software too, is that if you want to make that change and you want it to always be that way, you can come in and you can go to Toolbars, Workspace, and you can save this as a workspace. And by doing that, you can just come back in, select the workspace, and it will automatically have it set up the way that you want it. I do that quite a bit. I just downloaded this onto a newer computer, so I don't have a lot of the workspaces that I have on my other computer. But I would make quite a few changes, save the workspace, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So some of the other things that we've done, I say we, it's a kind of a habit because I've always kind of said we. I no longer work for R&K, but I did help with getting these features going, so I did work with the team on that, I guess. So it'll take me a little bit of time to get used to that. Zooming in and out was always kind of a pain to do when you're using the mouse scroll wheel, and the reason is because it would always zoom in and out from the center of a design, and a lot of times you know what you want to zoom in on, and so what was done is we made it to where you can zoom in from the cursor. So now wherever my cursor is, if I want to zoom into this piece, I can just do the scroll wheel on my computer, and it's going to zoom in to that piece, in and out from where your cursor is located. So you can see how it's working there. And that's a very nice addition. Very helpful, especially when you're really wanting to edit or fine-tune things. And some of the other things that were done could be found in the preferences, the program preferences. If I click on that icon right here, or I could click on it on the floating toolbar. If you go to Environments tab, you have the ability to enter demo mode, and the primary reason for that was for educators and instructors at store locations, making it to where they could show either FTCU with all the other programs, with all those icons brought in, or just showing what combination they want to show. So if somebody was interested in, let's say, Lettering Master and FTCU, you could show those two together and hide everything else. And that's a part of the Fusion program. Allows you to bring everything in to one piece, and basically with Floriani FTCU, Fusion's built into it. It's not a separate thing that you have to buy, but you can buy Fusion without owning FTCU. It's just you don't get all the features and functions that FTCU brings. So that's the enable demo mode. You can click on it, and when you close the software, open it back up, you can choose what features you want showing, and there's a video with their update that shows that, so I won't get into that. But if you go to the View tab, this is where you can use icons in the Properties tabs. It's checked, so that's why you can see an icon here. If I uncheck that and press OK, now it's going to spell out what the tab is. So it is a preference. You can choose to have it on or not. I like to have it on, so I'll go back into view and I will put that checkbox in. The next thing is theme color. So right now silver is the default. That's how the software's kind of always been. But you do have like an aqua color, you have lunar blue, obsidian black, and the silver. And I'll go to this black one really quick and just click OK. And you can see that the whole color of the software changes. Typically, if I'm in this mode, it's kind of in the evening time where I don't want so much light. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come in and click on the color to change the background color. And I'll either make it like a gray or black or something like that. It just helps tone down the light a little bit. If you're a little sensitive to the light, it can help with that. Let me come back up to the program preferences and go to view, and I can show you what the lunar blue looks like. It's just a lighter blue color, and I'm going to go back to the silver and click OK, so you can see those changes. And I can always come back and change the color of the background page. I can make that white if I want to. So those are some of the different things you can do with the new update. There is also an option for digitizing something before or after an object. And when you're working with a very large design, the reason that I wanted to add that to it was it could be very difficult if you have a bunch of color sequences here. And you've probably seen designs that have a lot of color sequences. And when you're trying to move things around or you want to create something and drop it in somewhere, it can be very complicated to create something and it's all the way down at the bottom, the last color sequence. Then you have to figure out where to move it to. It can be kind of complicated with large designs that have a lot of color sequences. So we added that ability to basically come in here. You could select an object and you can right mouse click and you can choose to digitize something before it or after it. So if I wanted to create a run stitch right after the fill, I could just do a digitize path after. I could then come up and grab a running stitch tool, and I could just digitize a run stitch right around it. And when I'm done, I can right mouse click and you'll see that it actually dropped it in right after that fill stitch. So it's a handy feature for those who create designs or like to add things to designs. But the update is basically user experience based. So the whole idea was to try to make it easier to find stuff, make it easier to access stuff, make it easier to see stuff, and hopefully that it does that for you. One last thing that I forgot to mention is when you do have something selected, you can resize, and as you resize, you'll notice on my screen that it's giving me the millimeters and inches of the new size based on my resizing. And that's really handy if you're trying to like modify text and you want it to be a certain height. Is I'm coming here, if I want it to be 4 inches, I can keep dragging down until I find 4, and it's showing me 4 inches right there in width, and then I can let it off, and now I know that I have 4-inch tall lettering. It's just something that's kind of handy to have. So as you resize things, it'll let you know what your dimensions are. I hope that you like these new features of the software. Like I said, it was very user-based. I love the addition of the floating toolbar. It makes things really handy, and I also really like having these color sequences show up in the color of the sequence itself, and also the properties tabs utilizing the icons. again, it's kind of a simpler, update in terms of there's not these brand new tools, but what this update does is gives you a lot greater access and ease of use. And sometimes it's really good to focus some attention in those areas because you'll find that you will utilize them more than just adding some new tools that aren't really relevant at times to a lot of people. So hope that you enjoy this update. It was a lot of fun building it, and it was the last one that I got to work on before resigning with the company, and so I'm glad to see it launched and out there, and I hope that you enjoy it. I know there's a lot of things in the works. I had a lot of things in the queue to be done, so there's going to be a lot of new and exciting stuff coming with Floriani software for a long time. There's a lot there for them to work with, so it's been a pleasure working with the group at Floriani and with all of you with the software, and I hope to be able to continue to provide some value by shooting some videos from time to time and just kind of showing you a little bit more about what makes Floriani software so great. Thanks.